Laura, UK nationals, that would be a big thing.
Yeah, that'd be really nice. I've competed in the UK for many, many years, and it's like my second aviation home over there. And I mentioned earlier that that everyone knows each other in aerobatics. We all kind of, most people kind of knew each other at the World Championships in Vegas, and certainly everyone in the UK in aerobatics kind of knows each other by now. It's a small little community. And also, what's lovely about the UK is because I mentioned I instruct aerobatics as well, so I get to bring a lot of new pilots up for their first aerobatic flights, and that's a really lovely thing to introduce people to aerobatics. I do
Would
most
you
of
be people that already have flight experience?
Yes, so mostly it would be people that are already embarking upon the aerobatic rating.
Okay.
And have become pilots already. But a lot of the most of the flying I do in England is aerobatic, but I instruct in Waterford here as well in Ireland,
Okay.
and I do a lot of like introductory flying lessons, so flight experiences, and I mean that's how I got started in
Yeah.
aviation. Like I said, like you said, and I mentioned as well, it was just my nan bought me an introductory flight. I took it and absolutely loved it, so it's just, I think it's probably the best preview you can get of a flying lesson, for a relatively little expense, to go up and take a half an hour flight in a Cessna or whatever. Yeah.
Going back to your very first flight, when you were being taught what was that experience like for you? Because you had just done your leaving cert, isn't that right?
Yes. Yeah.
You were quite young when you were what, 18, 19?
That was it. Yeah, I think I was 18. I had just passed the leaving cert, and as a gift for passing it, I got an intro flight from my nan, and I think I took it in like October of
Okay.
that year. So I just started in UCC at the time, and didn't really know what to expect. Like, I mean, I wasn't sure what would happen during the half an hour flight. Like, but I just remember being absolutely besotted with it, like thinking it was the best thing ever, the coolest skill, and just a wonderful thing to learn. Like, just so many interesting aspects to it. Everything from even like pre-flight checks, fueling the airplane up, like the airspace as well. I was only vaguely aware about airspace and what the rules were about flying in and out of Cork Airport, and you know what I mean. Like, so all these things were just so intriguing to me. And like before the flight, like I said, I had no idea what to expect. But then, I mean, during it, I was just so blown away by the activity. It was absolutely brilliant, and
Is it
kind
a
of
case of your flight instructor is there flying away, and then it's like, oh yeah, you just take the wheel there?
yeah, there's a bit of that, and you're like, okay, what? And like the thing about learning to fly is like the actual skill of flying. It's actually very simple, you know, in that, like, you turn the controls one way, the airplane goes that way, and vice versa. Like, it is very simple in that regard, but it's not always easy because of all the other complicated things you've got to deal with. Like I said, the airspace, the weather, um the actual environment where there's other aircraft flying around and so on. There's just a lot going on. It's like it's driving a car but ramped up by 50, because there's just so much to monitor, and I think that's what's quite impressive about the thing. um and certainly, like, um, anyone who kind of does flight sim or anything like that will probably get a great head start
Okay.
on a flying lesson, because they're already used to looking at all the instrumentation in front of them on that dashboard,
Yeah,
which,
yeah.
and I've certainly, there's been people I've taken for intro flights who've been completely overwhelmed and impressed by all the gadgetry in front of them, on the actual dashboard of the aircraft. So yeah, it's just a very unique and lovely experience, and if you're, I suppose, technically minded at all, you'll kind of really get and enjoy all the sort of tech side of it, the avionics and so on. Yeah.
It's it's something that I never would have envisaged myself wanting to do. I love being in an airplane. I love being a passenger in an airplane. Don't think I want to control one. I'll let other people do that one. Do you think it's those, like, you didn't have an interest in aviation beforehand? So
Not
what
really. No, like a lot of people.
took your nan to get you that? It's I think that's fascinating. Like, you know, it is kind of an amazing gift to give someone. I've given it to my son, hasn't done it yet, but I've given it to a flight to my son. He's done the flight sim down in Shannon Aviation Museum a few years back, and then we got him a flight voucher like that after
Yeah,
passing leaving cert and that. With the weather, you know, it is weather permitting.
it is.
And unfortunately, the 3 times that he's tried to book it, the weather has not been permitting. But I mean, like, you'd rather be grounded than, you know, have to be in turbulent weather on your very first flight. You might never fly again.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's something that can't be predicted. It can, you know, you can plan around it.
Yes.
But there isn't even a time of the year where, is there a time, actually I'm saying there isn't, but is there a time of year where you'd kind of say, but you know what, this is your 90% chance of not having to postpone or move your flight if you do it on this month?
Yeah. Yeah. You're right. Like, it's Ireland, so we're always we're always going to be battling with that uncertainty. We're never going to have a 100% reliable time of year to fly. What I would say is anyone who does have a flying lesson, you know, gifted to them, and just they're waiting to book it in, just book it in anyway. Every flight instructor in Ireland will know the misery of having to reschedule because of weather. So that's what we do in Waterford. Like, we'll book someone in with the caveat that the weather's not good, we're not flying. Simple as.
And down in Waterford,
Usually,
is it a little flight strip, or do you fly from Cork?
we are based at Waterford Airport, so it is a big long tarmac runway. Plenty of traffic in and out of there. We have the search and rescue helicopter base
Oh
there.
yeah,
We have another big flying school, the Atlantic Flight Training Academy, are down there as well. So it's quite a busy little bit of airspace, and the scenery is just stunning. It is stunning there. Oh my goodness, it's such a beautiful place to fly. So we do 30-minute and 60-minute gift vouchers for flight experiences, and we noticed that at Christmas, obviously, we sell a lot of them, and there's so many new student pilots kind of, I suppose, created from that gift. It's wonderful. Like, for example, I did an intro flight just over a year ago for a guy who's now learning to fly with us. Like, and that's lovely, like, you know, because we can introduce potentially a new pilot to the world. Like, it's great. Yeah.
And do you, when people come and train or get their first flight
Yeah.
lesson, they come back for a second, they come
Yeah.
back for a third.
Yeah.
How many flight hours do you need, or how many flights do you need to do before you are have your pilot license, like private pilot license?
Oh yeah. So if you're doing the private pilot course, it's 45 hours minimum. And we
Okay.
always say minimum because usually people take a bit longer because of the weather. There's always rescheduling and so on. But if you look at the breakdown of the course, so typically we'll have someone do the 60-minute introductory flight.
Mm-hmm.
And then they'll come back for official lesson 1, 2, 3, etc. And there are syllabus items on each of those to cover. So we'll take them off as you go along. There will be a point at which you need to do a medical. So medical assessment.
Okay.
This, for the private license, this is quite broad stuff. You know, you're checking, do you have any color blindness? Are you in reasonably good health? So they'll check all the usual metrics, totally normal stuff. When you get that cert,
Does it matter if you wear glasses?
no, you can wear glasses. You can
Okay.
have corrective glasses. Yeah, it's no
With
problem.
color blindness.
Color blindness is a big one. So yeah, people have to go and, well, you don't, you can get that checked at Any optician, actually,
Yeah.
they'll just flick you through the what's called the Ishikara. I don't know how to pronounce it. There's a standard color blindness test. Um,
I think it is within your when you have glasses anyway, you
it
have.
probably is part of it. Yeah, yeah.
But have you ever come across somebody that never knew they had color blindness until they were,
Have
yeah,
I ever heard of this? I might have heard one whisper of a story years ago, but
okay,
yeah,
okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But there's no, there's no corrective side of it.
There's no, there's not. Actually, there's not too many showstoppers for the private pilot medical cert.
Okay.
Obviously, if you're getting a class one because you're going towards commercial flying, that's another story. That is a bit more souped up.
Okay.
But everything is prescribed in our legislation, which is given to us by the EU.
Okay.
Like there's literally a list of things, and you will know before you embark on a flying path what things are on that list and
Okay.
what to take care of. Yeah. Um,
But nothing beats that exhilarating buzz when you take your
yeah.
first flight.
It's just such an interesting kind of technically engaging pursuit, and yeah, as you said, like I had no mad interest in aviation beforehand. Like it was probably predestined that I'd end up in this area, but it wasn't really
And
until I took
you.
that flight. She knew, she had that perception, like, and after I took that flight I was like, oh yeah, this is perfect, like this is perfect. So yeah, I would encourage anyone who has any little bit of interest at all in
Mm.
aviation to take a trial flight. It's so worth it because it gives you such a great appreciation. Even if you never go flying again and you become an air traffic controller or an engineer or a ground ops or whatever, I just think it's just such a nice thing to do to get that appreciation for what goes on in the sky.
There is so much, and there's so like you can make a career out of any aspect in aviation. You just mentioned a whole load of them.
Yeah,
And that could come from taking your first flight lesson
it
or
could. Yeah,
even doing a flight sim. There's loads, like everywhere in Ireland. Well, not everywhere. No, everywhere in Ireland there
yeah,
is yeah, I'm pretty sure that nearly every county has, or there's access, you can access it anyway from every county in Ireland for flight lessons, flights.
definitely. Yeah,
There's a huge avionic world here in Ireland, aviation world.
yeah,
It is massive. Even parachuting,
yeah.
is another thing that another thing I probably will never do. But would you?
I've done it.
You've
Yeah,
done it. Wow.
actually, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. At the end of the competition in Vegas, me and my boyfriend did a jump.
Was that your first time?
Both of us first time, yeah, and it was I have to say incredible, mind blowing. We're going to do you can do a course, an accelerated free fall course, so that you can jump anywhere in the world. Um, very weather dependent, so we're just looking for sunny places to do it at the
Yeah.
moment. Yeah. And one
Amy's
actually,
quite funny.
yeah, the slightly safer alternative, which I would highly recommend as well, is indoor skydiving, and you can do it in Belfast. So
Okay.
we actually did this a couple of weeks ago, not in Belfast. It was in the Netherlands, but it's basically a big wind tunnel that you go into
Yeah.
in a flight suit, and you are sort of elevated by a huge jet of wind, and
Oh,
you practice your free falling technique and moving your body and flying around. And if you look online, there's some absolutely phenomenal videos of people who've mastered this and do
it's
like all these beautiful gymnastics in this wind.
yeah,
It's
I've seen
incredible.
them. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It's kind of like the wind tunnel where they throw the money in at you and balls at you and stuff like that. But these are
yeah,
more windy, and you stand there in your flight suit and you end up
yeah,
like a flying squirrel
yeah,
in a
yeah.
tube.
Yes. And it's so much trickier than you think. I mean, the people who are good at it make it look effortless, but it's, yeah, it's great fun. And then at least you're not jumping out of
I
an
might
airplane.
give that one a go. That's closer to the ground.
Oh yeah, and it's do you know what, it's brilliant fun, and you really realize you actually learn a lot from a lot about it, aerodynamics from it, because you know exactly how to move your body and everything. And if you watch any of the guys who are good at it, they will move their hands and feet and legs in very particular, precise, predetermined ways
Yeah.
to like spin and move up and down. And yeah, it's very impressive. But there is, as far as I know, there's a place in Belfast that you can do it. So yes,
Awesome. I'll
yes,
look in
yes,
and
yeah,
have a look into that one. And you were saying earlier on, gliding is something that people do, you know, would
yeah.
be a natural progression from gliding to aerobatics. But gliding is not something that you've done yet.
Not yet, anyway. Not
Not
yet.
yet.
No.
And would you like paragliding? That's
Yeah,
another.
I would like. I would actually. I would probably rate that higher in my interest list than gliding.
Okay.
Years and years ago, in one of the UCC societies that I tried out when I was in first year, there was like a paragliding society, and I actually tried it for a day. Um, Again, tricky with weather because you can't always get the right wind and location and so on. But there was a couple of occasions where it worked for everyone that particular day that I tried it, and it was always very exhilarating. It's very cool, very very cool. Yeah,
I can just picture you on
yeah,
on a
yeah,
Just
yeah. Yeah,
to put it simply.
I know. I have, you know, you know what, all these things are very important because at some point you need to have a retirement plan for all the activities that you're going to do when you're retired.
Yeah. You just keep working commercially and fly us lot all around the world, and
I'll continue with the career for now because it has to pay for all the
for
activities
a
that I
while,
do
build up
eventually. Yeah.
skills. Oh, that's so funny. But I mean, like, you're an inspiration as always, Laura. Look, I love speaking with you, and we do chat afterwards. You have gone into schools as well to
Yes.
have a chat about careers in aviation, all aspects of aviation.
Yes. All the lovely things you can do with flying.
Um, so what people can get in touch with you if they want, if they have career days coming up and
Yes.
you happen to be off around the same time as well. That would be amazing because you do have a busy work schedule and a busy flight schedule, but at the same time,
Yes.
not as chaotic as a 9 to 5 or 5 days a week is.
No, I have some freedom definitely in that regard. So and I love, do you know what? I love making time for career talks stuff because it's just so rewarding. I went back to my secondary school last year, at the end of last year, and did a talk, and that was absolutely, do you know, which was brilliant. Yeah, it was just so nice to go back in, like, and even some of the teachers that were teaching me, they were still there, which was great. It was nice to have a catch up, and also just chat to all the students, you know, because it's just very interesting when you're at that age, like, and you're making decisions which you think are formative, you know, and
Yeah.
they don't necessarily need to be the decision to form your life. It does not need to be critical at that stage, you know. It's all about figuring out what you like and what makes you tick.
I think there's
So yeah.
a change how to approach that with people now. I mean, like, instead of like when we were in school, it was like you go to college, what's your career, and it's very, very much like, college, career, that's it. That's the path that
Yeah.
you're going to go down. Whereas I think now, speaking to them, you can say, from when I'm chatting with especially with TY students, in particular, like, you're asked, well, have you any idea of what you want to do when you grow up? And that is a question that you're asked from when you're like 2.
Oh my God.
What do you
Yeah.
want to do when you grow up? Like,
Yeah.
it's then, and in TY it is that year where you get to have a look and play around and try out different things with work experience and different events and stuff like that. But as well as that, you have interests, and interests can now turn into careers. So I
For
do
sure.
to the students, like, when I'm meeting them and I ask them and they go, no, I don't know. And I'm like, well, what's your interest? And they would say maths, but I've quite often had maths and business, or photography and some other subject, and you're like,
Mm.
okay, so you have interests outside of school as well as school, and you can mix the two of them together. You know, there are careers out there where you can match
Yes.
different things up. I know what you did in university, in college, in UCC was totally different than what your career path is now. But physics is a big thing with aviation career as well. So you had got that little step in the platform.
Definitely. Yeah.
I know with speaking to the guys from the RNLI, you know,
Oh, yeah.
tides and you know, the figuring
Yeah.
out how to understand a weather report
Yes.
is a big thing. So that would be the same for you. So like, when is the right time to go to the beach? When is the right time to fly in the air? Like the air,
Exactly.
and how that figures out. Like, you know, if you like biology, that could lead on to loads of different paths, like in careers as well.
Yes,
So,
completely. Yeah.
so I mean, like, all they have to do is talk to you, and you like the interest in an airplane, full stop.
Oh, yeah. It could be the catalyst to bring you anywhere, you know,
Yeah.
which is really nice. Actually, when I did that school visit to my old school last year, it was interesting because one of the students was expressing a mad interest in becoming an aeromedical examiner, which is a particular aspect of
Flying doctor.
having a medical so they would be certifying pilots to give them their class 1 medicals, class 2 medicals, and so on, which is very interesting.
Right,
And I didn't realize that actually there's quite a big shortage of them potentially coming in Ireland. So for anyone who's going towards a medical path, like to become a GP or something, there is a still crossover into aviation if you are interested in such a thing, which is very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, wow. Didn't even think of that. I thought it would be a regular doctor that would be, right, okay.
No, it's
So
a very particular thing, yeah.
So it's a pathway within the medical, so like OB or
yeah, it seems to be like an additional certification that you can get once you're already a doctor.
wow.
I don't have the correct jargon. I don't know the
We'll
nuances in it, but I am aware that like it is something that you get by doing a particular course with the EASA after becoming qualified as a GP, general practitioner.
Wow.
So yeah.
Okay.
So it's interesting because you mentioned all the crossovers, like, and you wouldn't know if you have an interest in something, then it's almost like impossible to predict where that might take you, because there is crossovers and things that you don't realize till you kind of get there, like, very interesting. Yeah.
I remember what you said in our very first chat. It was that you were in a lab. Was it in a lab? I think it was in a lab, and it was 9 to 5, and you realized very quickly that was not not the place for you. And I actually was with a group of TYs doing they were doing an experience, and one particular student I thought was so funny, and they were like, oh yeah, well, this is definitely not for me. And I was like, this is day 2 of your week.
I love it.
You know?
Oh my God.
And I was like, I love the way they just came out and said it. It was like, yeah, well, I've just totally figured out that this is not the path for me.
Isn't that wonderful? Oh my God. Brilliant.
But they were still in awe of everything that they were doing, and it wasn't a wasted week. They really enjoyed the week that they were doing, but it was just so funny the way they came out and said, yeah,
they could cross it off the list, like that's that. Yeah.
Most of us have to go out and get the career before we figure out what that is.
Brilliant. Yeah.
It is, it is, get out there, try it, experience. You don't know if you're going to like something or not.
You don't. You have to give it a try, and that's the thing, exactly, because I remember making that comment, and it's true. Like I thought I liked all science. I thought I was going to put down biochem on my CAO form. And then I remember working in a lab in 4th year, 9 to 5, like in a lab, and I hated it. It was so boring. Like I don't know why. It's funny though, because like the science itself is so interesting, but I probably more enjoyed learning the science than actually doing the research and being in a sort of 9 to 5 job, like, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, and there's no way I could have told that unless I had tried it. Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
As always, this is
yeah.
a fantastic chat. Can't wait to do more. So you've some training to do between now and September. When in
Definitely.
September are you heading off? You don't have to fly as early out as you would have done for America, would you?
So I'd say the way my leave is going to work, I'll be there a couple of days in advance. I think it's kicking off around the 4th of September, and it lasts for approximately 10 days as well.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. And it's in Romania. And I think the weather should be relatively reliably good at that time of year there. So
Brilliant.
fingers crossed. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So we'll all be rooting for you, and you'll
Team
have
Ireland.
Team Ireland. Here we go. You have Ireland behind you anyway, and keep doing those Instagram posts. They're just
I'll have
brilliant.
to bring my Irish flag back with me. I took it with me from Vegas,
Oh,
so
did you?
I'll bring it back again.
Yeah, you kind of have to keep going.
Yeah, yeah. Get a few more signatures on it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. The world flag of Ireland.
Yeah.
So best we'll chat definitely again. You'll be flying, no doubt, a few passengers around the world in the next few days.
Yeah, definitely. I have to work in a little while, so yeah. Pay the bills.
Pay the bills, that's it. We'll chat to you again soon. Thanks for coming back and letting us know how you got on, how the experience was, and being Team Ireland over Nevada. And
Thanks,
what
Fiona.
the air was like, that's mental.
Yeah.
So look, we'll chat to you again. It's keep flying the flag high for us.
Thanks, Fiona. Anytime.
Thanks a million.